Hi, good morning. I'm gonna pull up our Instagram here. I'm gonna go live, multiple accounts here. See if we can manage this better than yesterday. Oh, good morning, everyone. So today, March 24th, it is the new moon in Aries. Hi, good morning. Wild and free. Wild and free. I like how every day your D goes up. I like it. I think you were 5D and then 90 and now you're 12D. Hi, Darcy. Hi, good morning. Happy new moon in Aries. I could not sleep last night. The new moon in Aries kept me up, kept me so activated. It's good. We need the elevating fast rather than free. That's the basic thing right now. The new moon last night, we did a ceremony online through our community, and I was so moved by it. It was so powerful to gather with our community, and we talked about the ways that we can weigh our power and how we can release that, and we set intentions for this new paradigm that we're birthing right now. And we also did a deep meditation that I didn't really even know. Let's grab my burner here. I didn't even really know where we're going to go in the meditation, and it kind of guided me just to go through this rebirth process. And I was up like a newborn baby all night. I couldn't go to sleep until almost 2 a.m. So if anybody else is feeling that, let me know. Definitely when the moon is in a fiery sign, it tends to keep us up and keeps us activated. Hi, good morning. I'm also on YouTube. This is my first time streaming live. We want to record these so that we can have more access for people. And also on YouTube, this will live here now for beyond the 24 hours. So let's talk about it. Oh my God, Darcy, did I know that you were an Aries rising? I totally felt like I knew that. Because I was thinking about you. I'm like, I know you're Scorpio, but I was sensing Aries energy going off of you. You give me such fire goddess energy sometimes when you speak. That's so funny. Okay, yeah, Caitlin, we're up to 2 a.m. I've been really good about my sleep cycles during this quarantine, which surprises me because my Pisces moon loves to like super erratically. But then last night, the Aries moon kept me up all night. So if you were up all night, you are not alone. A Leo, Heather. Okay, good. I love it. Look at all my fire goddesses around me right now. Punchy, powerful downloads are coming through. Yes, that's a great way of describing it. The downloads that are coming through are it's Aries, new moon, they're coming through a little bit clearer right now. Like I already feel a little bit of that fog from the Pisces moon lifting, and the Aries new moon, like there's this directness, and we're going to be in this for the next 2 days, so we can definitely enjoy and open. So the Aries new moon, for those of you who are new to this little moment, we've been coming here at 10 a.m. every day for the past, I guess this is now, will be like 10 days of this. So during this time where we're in quarantine, where we're entering really what I believe is like a womb space where we're going to be birthed out into this next level of our paradigm. We wanted to gather here at 10 a.m. I grew up listening to morning shows. Even though I didn't really like love them, there was just a comfort of having like community first thing in the morning, getting your head on straight. And I wanted this little Instagram moment to be like, yep, we're coming here, we're connecting, we're setting our intentions for the day, we're getting a little guidance on the astrology, some things to think about, and just kind of flooding our brain space with a little bit of a higher frequency, whether it's yesterday I did a reading from a book or we're pulling some cards, connecting with each other. It's so important, like how we start our day, like what are the first things that we infuse into our brain. So that's what we're trying to do here. Okay, so Aries, 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 up all night. Okay, great. How do I do the rising in it? Aries, Mars, super knowledgeable. Okay, great. I love that. So if you guys want and you're around later at 12 o'clock, I'll be on the detox market on Instagram answering very specific questions about like astrology and how we can use it for self-care. But I will say here that yeah, anywhere in your chart where there's Aries looking at, there is a natural leadership energy there. There's a natural energy to be the initiator, to be fiery. It also can be the energy of starting things without finishing them, which is fine, but this is like leadership energy because you want to like start something and get people motivated, spark their fire, and then understand the systems of then how can you hand it over and delegate or figure out systems within you to follow through. Aries, Mars, it's really like an igniting energy and it's fiery. It's also Aries is ruled by Mars, the god of war. So we want to also look out for like in our chart, that could also be where we might be a little more combative or more aggressive. But again, like we need that energy. That's god of war energy. Like there's nothing to feel bad about for that. We just need to understand ourselves where we can maybe get a little like too much in our head or lead from a place of like reacting without thinking when we're in that Aries placement. So Aries rising, Aries imbues your whole chart, which I love. And then I'm trying to take off of the Wi-Fi here, my phone. Okay. My phone always defaults to the Wi-Fi and it's not been great. Yeah, so Aries rising, yeah, definitely just taking it. I always tell all my heavy Aries placements, it just benefits to like take deep breaths before you react and always abide by the 24-hour rule when we're in emotionally heated communication, meaning like emails, texts, like can we just sit on that for a little bit longer? Before we click send, because usually the Aries impulse is to go right for the jugular. And then usually within a little bit of time, we can kind of tone it back and be like, okay, actually, what I wanted to say was XYZ. So, like I said, you guys can tune in to the detox market at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 Pacific time, West Coast time, and I'll be answering questions about astrology and self care. It's so important right now to understand our unique makeup because one, we're spending a lot of time with ourselves, so it's a good time to really begin to understand ourselves. Yeah, I see Heather is quitting cigarettes and cleaning the body of toxins. Yes, this is a moment where we are asked to be like cleansed, to be nourished, to kind of have a timeout, just like the earth is. And then using astrology as a way to really build a unique self care rhythm and practice that works just for you. Because not only are we home a lot right now and we have time and the quiet to do that, we also need to take care of ourselves emotionally, mentally, physically more than ever right now. And also, it's good to understand what works for you in your chart because we also are being flooded with Instagram, Facebooks, articles, emails that are just like, do this and don't do this and do this streaming workout or rest or work hard or push yourself. And sometimes there really is the question of like, well, what are we meant to be doing? Are we meant to be using this time for rest? Or should we be creating something right now? Should we be working out? Or should we be giving our body a break? And this is where it's really important to look at our astrology because our unique chart can unlock the things that are important for us. And also, we look at the astrology of what we're going through throughout the month, the lunar cycles. There's a rhythm. There's no black and white. There's no yes or no. There's no cookie cutter self care program that works for everyone at all times. And that's one of the first reasons that I got really into astrology was being able to clear out a little bit of the noise and the static and figure out something that worked for me. Okay, good. Oh, Marianne's here. Yay, we can't wait to be on with you guys, the detox market. Oh, Jamie's here. Jamie's so good. She's been holding really good space for me these past week or so as we've been doing these lives and all of our community events. So talking about the Aries new moon a little bit, with these morning moments, I'd like to definitely go over the astrology that's affecting us right now. And again, just putting one thing out there, some intention, some thought, some reading for the day, just to help align you with some guidance and also to bring in some like positive energy or some higher frequency energy into our field. And also just the whole space for whatever's coming up for you guys. And I also wanted to share some like positive news as it came up. So I'll start with the positive news today because I'm not a newscaster and I don't have a whole like long thing to say about it. It's more just like a little bit of the news in the world that's uplifting that we need to look at right now to combat some of the heavier news that's being circulated like nonstop out of this 24-hour news cycle machine. So I did see that we are currently at over 100,000 cases of COVID-19 that have been cured. I mean, it's still important more than ever right now to stay at home, to do our part, to wash our hands. But I just love seeing that headline last night as I went to sleep. I was like, okay, good. It's just a beautiful reassurance. It's also just a testament to everyone who's working together right now, our healthcare workers, the providers, people who are again, doing their part on the individual level, people who are showing up. I've seen Instagrams, people sewing, respiratory masks for hospitals that are running low. I saw people who are just reaching out to their neighbors, see what they could do. I see people who are just sharing, again, like good tips for strengthening our immunity at home, and just everyone who's doing their part to, again, like flatten this curve right now, and to also shout out to people who are using this time of flattening the curve to do some sacred work, to do some inner work, to do some weaving of positivity, of heart energy out into the collective right now. Like, you guys are my heroes. So that's a little bit of the good news for the day I saw coming through. And then for the astrology, so we have the sun and the moon are in Aries. The sun and moon are kissing. That is what a new moon means. A new moon is when um, the moon and sun are conjunct, and that means that they're just hanging out like this. They are not social distancing. They are all up in each other. And when that happens, um, it's like the spark is created, like thinking about a kiss, how it creates a spark of energy, or, even going a little bit deeper, even a moment of like, intimacy, like life is created from getting together, from putting our bodies together, from, when a traditional, like male, female parts come together, new life is born. So when we have this moment right now of like the sun and the moon coming together, it's like a new start. Um, for those of you who know me, I always like to bring up like the practical kind of world things we see around the moon cycles. And I went to a vineyard this fall in Sicily, and they did all of their planting, all of their harvesting, all of their pruning, really by the moon cycle. And it really reminded me of how powerful it is. I mean, this vineyard was like acres and acres and acres, and they had moon phase calendars everywhere, and I was in heaven. And they told me like they really they plant the seed under the light, or under the darkness rather, of the new moon. When the moon goes dark, they plant their seeds, and this creates the best, most fertile place for these grapes to grow. It begins like a life cycle that's aligned with the cosmic rhythms. So we want to look at how we can do that too, how we can align ourselves with these cosmic rhythms, right? So new moon is rebirth time. It's a blank chapter starting. It's a new start. We're asked, like in this freshly tilled, like luscious soil, what seed are we planting? Um, okay, so um, and this is this new moon in Aries. So Aries is the beginning of the zodiac season. So it's not only fresh start like normal, it's also fresh start in the zodiac year. So we're in a really deep moment of rebirth right now. And like I keep thinking about, we're in a rebirth, and let's be honest, some people go through births that are traumatic. Like that's just the truth of it. So we're going through a rebirth right now, and birth is beautiful and it's a sacred experience between like going between two worlds. But sometimes it can create discomfort, or it can create trauma, or it can create like it's not always just like obviously a beautiful, easy birth. So right now, this rebirth we're going through, I just want us to keep that in context that like sometimes rebirth comes with pain and discomfort, or just an unknowingness that forces us to surrender to a higher power, whatever you identify that higher power is. And speaking of birth, I'm going to have on Friday, I'll post it in the stories. My cousin is an amazing doula. She's also trained in so many things, breath work, yoga. I'm asking her to send me her full resume so I don't leave anything out. But she is an amazing, amazing doula. And she's going to come on Friday morning and answer any questions that any of my expecting mamas might have out there for this time, of how to just, take good care of you, your baby, how to reduce stress and anxiety. She does amazing like prenatal, postnatal work, birthing work. So I'm going to have her on. So I think that she is a true light and a great resource of information that we could all need. And also, I'm laughing because I'm going to listen to her advice. I'm not pregnant. I mean, I will be one day, but also like I feel like there's also this moment of we're all being birthed. So it's just like good advice for us all to have, whether we're pregnant or not. So, new moon in Aries, I want you guys to think about like if we're in this rebirth, what do we want to walk into this next chapter with? How do we want to move through this next chapter? Um, Aries is fire. So there's a fire energy that's like destroying some things right now, and it's clarifying and purifying things. So thinking about what do we want to leave behind in that old chapter? What do we not want to bring with us into this next chapter? This is going to be really potent because again we're entering like a portal, like you're entering through the birth canal or like a violet flame, and it's burning up maybe some of the cords that kept you tethered to like the wrong people before, or maybe it's burning up old stories, old belief systems. But I invite you all to spend time in meditation today, imagining yourself going through like a portal through a birthing canal of like a pure violet flame. And this is the time we're even seeing how life is almost becoming kind of clarified for us. I'm sure we've all had moments, right, of realizing I haven't heard from certain people during this quarantine, and maybe that's a good thing. Or certain things I used to think were so important now are being, stripped away during this quarantine, and I don't actually maybe miss them, or I do miss them. And this is how I want to like recreate those things for myself. So, okay, Dre Bay, the violet flame came up last night for you. Of course, I love that. Yeah, the whole family are light workers. No, yeah, seriously, Darcy, I'm very blessed. I come from a very long, witchy line of my whole group of cousins are just one big coven, and all the women in our family. It's quite spectacular. Um, so yeah, so there's this rebirth. There's this violet flame we're walking through, and that fire is also now becoming the fire in our bellies. Like you can't see, but like this fire in our bellies, like what is lighting us up? What is that thing? I'm sure if you're watching this, you might have something that you just know you're meant to share with the world. Something in you that you know can be of service right now, some way that you can be a leader, whether it's just in your household, in your relationships, in your maybe work field, or maybe for the larger scale, like your community and public policy. There's something in you that's been like burning for a while, and now maybe it's like with everything else quieted down around you, within the darkness of everything, the light of your own fire might be coming really bright right now, and almost like too hard to ignore, right? Like before there was a lot of distractions, and it's like we doubted ourselves, we thought maybe the time wasn't right, who am I to do this? But now is the time to be like, I am the one to do this. This is Aries energy. It's I energy. It's the me. It's trusting in myself, to show up, to be seen, and the word that keeps coming through is to be sovereign in myself, to be whole in myself. So that's a little Aries new moon energy. If you're looking for some tips on how to set powerful intentions or manifestations, or what part of this chart of your chart based on your sun sign is being affected by the new moon, you can look at the link in bio. I made like really quick, like 2 or 3 minute YouTube videos by sign to get some information on that because I love guidance, but also like I just don't always have time to watch hour-long YouTube videos. So I'm all about my Virgo, New York City efficiency, 2 or 3 minutes. Check it out. It can help you understand what is going through this rebirth with you right now. What's the area of your chart where you can have a reset, a reboot on access to this in life, the ways it can enhance your life, and also like how can you bring more abundance and beauty and magic to this part of your life. So all that is in the link in bio or on our YouTube, The Cosmic Revolution. So we have some people on YouTube this morning. I love it. This is my first time doing this. Yes. So, um, okay. So I'm going to answer some questions that we have about new moon. I wanted to open up today's morning show just as a way to interact, to hold some space, to answer some questions. So I'm going to pull up the questions here. Um, we have some great questions. Okay, one question I have on YouTube that I'm going to answer, and you guys, it's okay. We're going to get a little deep and wide. We'll get here in the Cosmic Revolution. No subject is off limits. And someone here, Heather, um, asks for. I struggle with knowing if it's okay to believe in God and astrology and loving Mother Earth and Father Sky. I almost feel guilty and I want to ask you some advice. So, this is something I actually think is super important to talk about. And I've always kind of limited like my personal stories or personal sharing on this Instagram because I just really want to be here in service to the collective. But also, part of that is me hiding. I have to be honest. I just feel uncomfortable talking about myself too much or sharing my own stories. Um, no, Heather, I love this. I think it's a great question because I actually get it a lot in my circles. I get it a lot from my clients. And the only thing I'm going to say is that everyone here has their own rights to their own belief systems. And I'm sure most of you watching this were maybe raised in a more like traditional maybe Christian household. And or at least even if it wasn't, that was like where our idea structures come from. And I just wanted to share, I grew up in a very, very Christian household. We had Bible study every Sunday morning. Wednesday night I led like children's fellowship from a young age, which is I think where I realized that I love being a spiritual teacher, but just maybe like different information. And when I first my cousin, whom I think is on here right now, and my aunt always like spoke about numerology and astrology and the tarot, and I was always drawn to it. But I did feel like in my younger years this conflict of like, okay, are those things like me going against this concept of God or what I've heard in my more traditional Bible study? And so there was a conflict for a while, and then a few years ago, or maybe like 10 years ago, I really just had these very clear downloads about um, a few things that everything they're just labels, and this is how I wanted to answer your question because it ties so beautifully into Aries new moon. We did a ritual last night about burning of labels. Labels are human constructs. Humans are by humans. I can't talk right now. Labels are human designs. You know, like animals don't label each other. There's not like um, this like separation through words. We need labels to identify and it soothes us. I remember taking a social deviance class in college and it was talked about like why we're so uncomfortable when we can't identify someone's gender. Like this was like 15 years ago before it became a larger conversation. And it really just boiled down to like our human brain wants to classify things, wants to put a label on things so we can understand like how we relate to it and the hierarchy of like what's happening, how are we supposed to react, what are the rules here. And I remember hearing that a while ago and being like, okay, that's a good way just to release that because like if you find yourself doing certain things and you create certain labels, you can just ask yourself like why am I doing that, like where did this label come from, where did this idea that I need this label come from. And it's the same thing when we identify God, source, spirit, the divine, the universe, however we want to call it. these are just labels. Like they're just labels that we put on um, as humans to identify with a source that is bigger than ourselves and a source that we can all tap into and a higher power. And I really believe that um, it's up to each of us to figure out our own name. And I, grew up saying God a lot, and I have switched to using the word more like source or spirit, just because for me, God had a lot of like loaded language and a lot of loaded energy that came from a more like patriarchal, monotheistic upbringing. But it's all the same. And really, like, truly, my invitation to each of you would be to discover this on your own and also begin to invite in the awareness that like this energy, whatever we want to call it, is something that exists within us in our heart space. And it like and it like it's just something that comes from within that no one can take away from you, and there's no separation from you and this energy, whatever you want to call it, this divine energy. And then just the 1A, the offshoot to that about astrology and crystals. To me, all we have to ask is like, what is more natural? What is more, you know, if we identify with God, what is more of a sign from God and a gift from God than the stars in the night sky? It's more like the man-made stuff that I think we should question. Like a few years ago, I was like, yeah, why did we doubt like using crystals and astrology to guide us when this stuff has been used by people in biblical times and this was given to us by a higher source to work with, but we put our trust in like Advil on the shelf that like some dudes just made in a laboratory, or like a weather report from a guy on the TV, and like he doesn't even know what he's talking about. So that was just very, again, we're going pretty deep here in our Monday morning show. I mean, our morning shows, which I really appreciate. So I hope that's just offered up some, again, new insight, new awareness, new ways of thinking. That's what I'm all about, and I love hearing from all of you. Um, yeah. So yes, exactly. Releasing them all. Kirsten, we're just this Aries new moon has me like so called to come back to this practice of like non-attachment. This practice in like shamanic medicine that they talk about is like invisibility. It's like stripping all of those labels, because every label that we have for ourselves or others is essentially kind of holding us back in some way. So that's very Aries new moon medicine. And I'm going to answer some other questions that you guys had some good ones. Um, Okay, I really like this question that came through. Can you talk about embodiment of the divine feminine? What is it? Practices, playlists? I love this question for the Aries new moon because obviously you guys know the divine feminine is my favorite thing to talk about. The divine feminine energy is what our planet needs so much right now. And again, we have access to divine feminine energy no matter what our gender is, no matter how we identify, what our physical body is. We all have divine feminine energy that wants to course through our veins and it wants to offer us something. And right now, the call to the divine feminine is is really about healing our planet and bringing us back into wholeness. And divine feminine energy is very strong, and I believe that she gets what she wants. And like the energy of the planet right now, the divine feminine energy is really like trying to get our attention and trying to get us to align with it. And the people I think who accept the invitation and are open to it will be very held and will be very supported, because I believe that's how like energy works and how spirit works. So divine feminine energy, this is obviously like a whole workshop I could be doing. And the Cosmic Boss, like my 6-month group coaching program, we're going to talk about how to literally like embody and live in our divine feminine energy through our business, because that was the game changer for me once I started understanding that. Um, we want to think about, I always try and break down things into quick little like action steps or digestible bites. So to me, divine feminine energy is like self-love. It's living in like deep accordance, deep reverence for our own bodies and our lives. And it's also having like awareness of our mind, and where our mind slips into old programming or stories from society. It's living intuitively, it's trusting our inner guidance, and it's living in pleasure, and it's living in a place of like sensuality and groundedness, and giving ourselves permission to feel really good in our bodies and to stretch and move in them and to feel like um, free in our sexuality and to dance through life. And it's also about flow. Um, we live in a very force based society. And to me, divine feminine energy is living in more of a flow state. And part of that is surrendering, part of that is trusting, and part of that is looking to the rhythms that are happening in nature and in the cosmos that we can like join ourselves with. So there's a flow. Which is why, I always talk about the moon cycles. Like working with the moon is probably one of the first ways to align yourself with divine feminine energy. Um, and the other way that we can align ourselves with divine feminine energy, an embodiment practice, definitely like breath work, definitely non-linear movement, dancing. And dancing, like Julia last week talked about, it's not about looking good or doing it perfectly or like hitting marks or being like Britney Spears or doing like interpretive dances. I mean, all of that is amazing. But dancing in a way of like, I imagine when I do divine feminine dance, I imagine like, where does my body need oxygen and light? Where do I need to like flow through it? Like, where can I feel like stagnant things like, oh, my belly feels stagnant. So I'm just gonna like, and it's like being very almost like primal in your movements and having like a poetry in your movements of like where is stiff? Where is there energy that's like stagnant and wants to move through? And how can I let that be released? And how can I like move? And I love visualizing different elements as I dance. Like, okay, I'm in the ocean and I'm, you know, rising and falling and undulating, and now I'm fire and I'm like big and like bursting into flames. And now I'm air and I'm just kind of breezing through and feeling myself just move with like the energy around me. And then there's earth, which I usually get down on like all fours or lay on the ground, and I feel myself and I feel how effing solid I am and how grounded I am. So definitely dancing through the elements is a great way of embodying divine feminine energy. See how my little shawl came off during my divine feminine energy dance. And then a visualization. I don't know what this is called. I need to create a name for it. It's like a visualization, but there's these like perception shifts that I like to activate in myself, and I get downloads on them. And a perception shift to me around the divine feminine to embody it came through just as recently as this summer for me. The divine feminine is a journey. Like she is constantly revealing new information to me. Um, just in your life, like when we want something, we desire something, when we want to birth something or create something, going through this process of first of all, just thinking like, what is blocking me from this? Why is this something that feels like it's outside of me? And doing that process, which is a whole longer thing that we can talk about separately. But then once we get clear with this thing that we want or we desire or we know is meant for us in our heart of hearts, I love sitting in meditation and just visualizing myself like a flower. Like a flower is very divine and feminine energy. And so much of my life, I was in like worker bee mode, like going out to get something, work really hard. If I'm not buzzing all day, if I'm not running around being so busy, then I'm failing at something. And just the energetic visualization shift of being like, no, I am the flower. I have to tend to myself. I have to soak up my sunshine, stay fertile, trust my blooming, my blossoming, trusting my rhythms, maybe going through some storms here while you're planted, but just trusting that, like, you know, I'm bringing things into me, I'm calling things into me, and definitely other divine feminine practices amplify our groundedness and our magnetism. But just as a quick little life hack, like this thing of like holding your space, doing your own work, then staying in this place of the flower. It's a place of deep trust and deep alignment. So again, I hope that helps. I have a babe magic playlist that I love. I can share that maybe in my stories. And then I also have like a divine feminine dance playlist that's a little bit more, how you'll say, spiritual. It's a little bit more like music that's, like we're doing some witchy stuff. So I can definitely share that. And you guys can remind me if I forget. So yeah, that's divine feminine as quickly as I can say. So I think, but I always can talk more and more on that. And we'll be covering a lot of that in the Cosmic Boss program because I think it's time for leaders and entrepreneurs and visionaries and business people and healers to all really step into the divine feminine as it looks like in the outside world in terms of creating something and putting something out there. Okay, so we have a question from an Aquarius. Do we have any other Aquariuses watching this right now? Um, I'm just gonna pull up my ephemeris. We have a question of what's in store for Aquarius for this new moon. So again, you can watch my little quick video on the YouTube. I saw Audrey shared that link. Thank you, Audrey. I'm so bad at like pinning stuff on here. Um, Okay, so for Aquarius, oh, I love that. Okay, good. Okay, good, good, good. I love everyone's chats in the YouTube. So for Aquarius is joining, this new moon is transiting and activating and sort of illuminating the part of your chart that's very expressive. It's your third house. So it's your house about writing, thinking, speaking, and about like essentially when the moon hits this part of your chart, it's asking you like, do you have something you want to broadcast to the world? Is there a message that you've been ready to craft and put out there? And now is the time to set seeds of intention. I'm not saying you have to do it right on this new moon or even this month, but it's like in the next 6 months. What's a message that you want to radiate out to the world through written word, through a podcast, through YouTube, through writing a pitch, through writing a book? Like, what do you want to create? What do you want to communicate out to the world? And again, thinking about it through the lens of the Aries moon, something you want to create through the world that's just about being seen, about being fully you and showing up as your most authentic self in that broadcasted message. And it's also about, again, that leadership through that initiator energy. So, yeah, so I'm going to, I'm not going to time to do all the signs, but I saw that came through last night. And then, like Audrey said, we have the new moon messages on YouTube. And again, I will also be going live with Detox Market to get even deeper into the signs right now. But yeah, Scorpio, I will say you can check out the full video, but it's about routine, ritual, health, wellness, a call back to like service of yourself through structure. So let's see. I think I have time for one more question on here. Okay, some of these other questions. I get a lot of like spam in my questions. I don't know. So, okay, I'm just gonna share this. This is not really a question, but it's just a comment from someone. Someone from our circle last night posted how we talked about our fire ritual and we set the stage for the ritual together. And then I let everyone go home and invited them and not go home. They were home. We're all home right now about on your own finishing the ritual with some fire energy. And I definitely invite you. This person, this beautiful goddess, said, burn their ritual, burn their sheet, and they felt badass. So yeah, like this is Aries energy right now. Like I said all that stuff and it's all good and it's all like kind of ethereal, but like truly Aries energy is like putting on your suit, activating the side of you that is badass, that is a bad bitch, cosmic baddies. It's that fucking time and we need that. Okay, like the time for being like demure and like soft spoken and like very like that kind of love and light, like inward energy. That time is a little bit past us. Like we need people who are in this place of the warrior, who are strong in themselves, who fucking know themselves so well that no one can shake them in what they know to be their inner truth and the higher truth that they're a part of. And we need people standing up, talking back, making noise, making a ruckus in whatever way. I work with a business coach, and she always talks about being like the misfit, the rebel. And I identify with that so much. That's why I started working with her. I need all of you in your glorious misfit, rebel, revolutionary, weird, wacko, mystic way to step up into your power right now. Like, I need that. And we all need it. And this is really the Aries new moon, is like, I want you to walk through the world today, like with some swagger. I want you to walk through the world with some magic coursing through your hips. And I want you to have your head held freaking high because you're wearing a crown and you're not lowering yourself, bowing to anyone else. You're not cowering or making yourself small for anyone anymore. And again, this is a great time to do it because we're all at home. So we don't have to deal with some maybe nonsense that we were interacting with before. So using this time at home to cultivate this energy around you like a warrior in training. You know, who are you? What do you want your life to feel like? What does that alignment feel like? What do you want to offer to the world? What's your sacred work, your gift? What is it? And trust me, if you're watching this, if you're alive, if you have pulse, if you have a heartbeat, if you have breath in your lungs, you have something to share with the world right now. You do. It's just about figuring out what that is, getting clear on that, and then just getting out of your own way, truly. And then a little bit of not giving a flying, you know what other people think of you. Because people will roll their eyes, people will make fun of you. I mean, when I made my shift in my business from more of like everything I've ever done in my business, there's been people who've been like, "What are you doing?" You know, I started a green juice business 7 years ago, and people were like, "No one's ever going to want to buy green juice out of a bottle." And then I started shifting into other things that I did, and then even now, you know, people have been. When I first started this, people were like, "Why are you talking about this? Everyone's going to think like you were doing so well in your other businesses, and now you're going to start talking about like crystals and like the moon, and like no one's going to take that seriously." And I was like, I just don't care because like I need to talk about this. It was like bursting out of me, like I couldn't sleep. I was anxious. I had like my skin was in a rash because I had something. I had a fire in me that needed to get out. And since I have done that, I have been so provided for. I mean, yes, there's been struggles, absolutely. But like there's this a flow that happens. There is an alignment that happens when you tune into your authentic self and you start living your life for you, not by the opinions of other people or what they may say or won't say. Because people will always be talking. People are always talking. And I'm going to end this by quoting Bonnie Raitt and say, let's give them something to talk about. People are going to talk anyway. So let's give them something to talk about. That song is on my Divine Feminine playlist because it gets me riled up. So again, all of you, sending you so much love. Audrey to share the YouTube. If you want more new moon messages by your sign, we're going to send out an email. If you're not on our email newsletter, make sure you're signed up. Or we're going to be sharing a free webinar training I'm going to do for the Cosmic Boss. If you want more information like this, but grounded in some practical magic action step of how to bring things out to the world with your gifts, is what we're talking about. We have a new like Patreon and some new accesses through there. We have our community. We're just trying to figure out and get really creative with our offerings to have multiple ways of supporting you, our revolutionaries, our cosmic baddies, our cosmic babes, our cosmic bosses during this time. So in the great immortal words of Bonnie Raitt, let's give them something to talk about. So sending you all lots of love. I'll see you here at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow morning. Follow along, Detox Market, 12 p.m. today, doing questions about astrology and self-care. Okay, so I'll see you all then. Oh, Katie, I'm signing off, but I give you a shout out. Everyone, Earth Mama, Birth Mama, like I said in the beginning, 10 a.m. Friday, or 10:20, she'll be coming on. But Friday morning, we're going to do a great chat with her. So love you all, sending you all so much love, sending you all so much of this badass warrior strength for today. Okay, bye. Okay, and to you, I'm checking up. Sorry, this is my first time doing 2 of these at once. Oh my God, 2 Leos and 2 Heathers in the group. I'm obsessed with this. Aries energy. I love this. Yes, good. Okay, good. I'm happy. I hope this helped. My Heathers, my fire signs, thank you for holding it down. I'll be here again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, there's a little morning positivity. So send me any questions you have. Feel free to email, write comments here. I just love having us all together and part of this like cosmic community right now. Okay, so I'm going to end this and I'll see you all tomorrow.